Hey everyone, how's it going today? It's Max here. Have some news to cover with you from the week of September 13th. And a lot going on in the world. I pulled a few stories I think are notable, and we'll jump right in, get to it. But earlier in the week, we had a Chinese virologist. Her name is Dr. Li Mengyan, come forward as a whistleblower. She fled the country. She left her job at a prestigious Hong Kong university. She appeared last week on British television where she claimed that the coronavirus was a man-made virus and not a result of natural evolution. So she fled the country. She has a lot to lose by doing this. And right now, it seems like she is authentic, and she needs to be vetted. Obviously, we don't want to take her claims at face value, but I think there's reason to believe that she is telling the truth. I've long stated that I believe this virus, given the evidence and some of the things that I've seen outside of the public or the mainstream popular public domain, that suggests that this virus is a man-made, engineered virus. And this further corroborates that. And I'll put her report in the description so you can take a look. But her report's titled Unusual Features of the SARS-CoV-2 Genome, Suggesting Sophisticated Laboratory Modification Rather than Natural Evolution. The natural origin theory, although widely accepted, lacks substantial support. The alternative theory that the virus may have come from a research laboratory is, however, strictly censored on peer-reviewed scientific journals. Nonetheless, coronavirus shows biological characteristics that are inconsistent with a naturally occurring zoonotic virus. In this report, we describe the genomic, structural, medical, and literature evidence which, when considered together, strongly contradicts the natural origin theory. And again, you guys can take a look at it. Really compelling stuff, but this just further supports the idea that this thing's not some naturally occurring virus that freakishly just jumped from human or animal to human transmission, but it was engineered to do so. And furthermore, corroborates the fact, and she says it, that China deliberately released this virus on the world stage, intentionally infecting the world while locking down their own country during it all, which, if true, is one of the greatest crimes against humanity we have ever seen. And something is going to have to be done to hold China accountable. But we pray for a peaceful resolution. We pray that the truth comes out. I think this just further corroborates the truth. But interestingly enough, she created a Twitter account, this virologist. Twitter, shortly after she did so, banned her account. So that's telling. I think that's confirmation of her validity. If Twitter made that move to censor her so quickly. And then Facebook and Instagram flagged Tucker Carlson's video. Tucker Carlson interviewed her this week. I'll put a link of that in the description as well, but they flagged his video as false information. So when big tech rushes to silence an alternative narrative or some alternative information, I think that again is confirmation in and of itself. But really staggering claims, and I suggest you all take a look at that story, and I'll post it. Moving on, Trump brokers another historic peace deal between Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain. Let's see, Newsweek reports the agreements establish peace, diplomatic relations, and full normalization between Israel and the two Arab Middle East countries. The nations will establish embassies and appoint ambassadors to each other, the president said. So an amazing achievement. It's awesome to see this administration really make real tangible efforts to stabilize that region. Jared Kushner has been working really, really hard behind the scenes to do that, going back to 2017. But it's awesome to see. The question is, why has it taken an outsider in Trump to finally deliver the start of peace in the Middle East. Why hasn't any president or any administration before now made an effort to do so? That is a question that I want an answer to. But my opinion is, and I share this opinion with a lot of other people, is that we didn't want peace in the Middle East, the government anyways. You can't profit off peace. You profit off war. War is an economy in and of itself. War generates billions. And by the Middle East being unstable, being volatile, there's a lot to gain from it. So why has it taken an outsider to come in to finally start the process of peace in the Middle East? I think it has to do with money and greed, and all goes back to the military-industrial complex, who were cohorts with the old establishment political order that has so long controlled our nation up until just a few years ago, back when Teflon Don was elected. So awesome to see this achievement, and hopefully we see more. We could see a number of nations, 5 or 6 nations, the president said, come to the table for peace. I think they've already have deals done behind the scenes, and they're just going to roll them out as the election draws nearer. So awesome to see, though. Quick hit here: the Teddy Roosevelt statue in front of the Museum of Natural History is going to be removed. Really sad to see. I've been up in, I've seen the statue. It's an iconic statue in New York City, but there are anti-American forces that want to take down the statue, serving a broader effort to remove our nation's history, symbols of our nation's history, whether good or bad, in an effort to ultimately erase our history in order to create a revisionist history. And that's kind of the high level 30,000 foot goal of these forces. But they say that Teddy was a racist. I think that's the reason. I can't imagine another reason that they want to take down this statue. Something to do with him being racist. But ironically enough, Teddy Roosevelt was the first president to invite a black person to dine with him in the White House. In 1901, President Theodore Roosevelt invited African-American educator Booker T. Washington, who became close to Teddy, to dine with he and his family in the White House. So pretty ironic and sad, but hopefully I think there are efforts being made to keep that statue up, but we'll see what happens. As of yesterday, it hadn't been taken down, but they're planning to. So keep an eye on that. Just quick hit I thought was interesting. And then moving on here, we have ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, allegedly running human experiments resulting in mass hysterectomies. This was an allegation made by a whistleblower from earlier this week. That they're giving women, immigrant women, hysterectomies without their consent. And if that's the case, that's awful. That's an atrocity that should be handled and should be dealt with severely, whoever the perpetrators are. But the media was rushed to put this out, and but the problem is there's not a whole lot of evidence to support the claim, and this article from the National Review does a pretty good job of giving us what we do know and kind of laying out the facts for us. And they kind of have identified some holes in the allegations made. It wasn't a widespread thing. It was reduced to one detention center, and I think 2 women who were victims. And it goes back to just one doctor who potentially, did this, which is a terrible thing if true nonetheless, and they should be dealt with. But I think we need to kind of wait and suspend our judgment here until we learn more. But the article says, if true, the most hyperbolic version of the story would be a colossal atrocity, and that hyperbolic version is what the media is putting forth out right now. As it turns out, the actual allegation is much narrower, but still a horrifying case of serial medical malpractice if proven. As is often the case with wild allegations of institutional misconduct, it's wise to demand proof, but also urgent to insist that the charge be properly looked into. I think that's really well said. But as of now, these are just general allegations given by anonymous sources, except for the one. But she cites other anonymous sources, and they're kind of unproven right now. But I think a good move was made. The DHS is investigating the allegation, and hopefully we get to the bottom of it. But something, again, to keep tracking, but came out earlier this week. Onward we go. We have Minneapolis City Council alarmed by the crime surge after making the decision to defund the police. So the irony is super, super thick here. We had Minneapolis City Councils who just 2 months ago moved to eliminate the police department, sounded the alarm during a Wednesday meeting about the surge in crime seen by their constituents. Color me shocked, right? I mean, who could have imagined that this would take place, right? Council members pressed Police Chief Arredondo about the uptick in crimes that included daylight carjackings, robberies, assaults, shootings, and street racing. Residents are asking, where are the police? Said council member Jamal Osman, noting that constituents' calls to the Minneapolis Police Department have gone unanswered. Arredondo said about 100 officers have left the department or at least taken a leave of absence since the start of the year, which is more than double the typical number of officers who are inactive per year, said the report. Going back to July, it was national news. The council took several steps towards dismantling the police department, including approving an amendment to remove $1 million from the department and reallocate it towards the health department to hire violence interrupters who are intended to diffuse potentially violent situations. What could go wrong there? But more irony, it's terrible. What do you expect to happen? You deplete, you weaken the police department, crime is going to rise. I can't believe this is a real story, but it is. And lastly, we have some news on Black Lives Matter, the trademark, the organization, and Antifa. There was an article put out by Fox News that said that a group led by one of the founders of Black Lives Matter has ties to a progressive pro-China organization that acts as a fiscal sponsor to the group, according to a new report by the Heritage Foundation, who's a conservative think tank. And then on the Antifa front, this was put out in July by an outlet in Istanbul. Sometimes non-domestic sources are much more reliable than domestic media. But it said the YPG and PKK recruited foreign fighters from Antifa groups in Western countries. The YPG and the PKK are terrorist groups in Turkey and Syria who recruit Antifa type and some far-right extremist groups as well, but they recruit these folks to join forces. And the point of me sharing this is just to further support the fact that Antifa, Black Lives Matter, they're not organic grassroots movements that genuinely want to see racial reconciliation and promote civil rights, equality, and things like that. In reality, they're just foot soldiers. They're paramilitary groups who are being used and being funded and being supported by international terrorist groups and communist nations in order to launch the Marxist revolution that we currently find ourselves in. So that's the reality of the situation here. In that same vein, we had A.G. Barr said the DOJ should charge rioters with sedition. The media is having a fit. They're freaking out about this, but he's absolutely right. Given what we know about these provocateurs, these agitators, these insurrectionists, they should be charged with sedition for what they're doing. He wouldn't be saying that if he didn't have proof. Okay? But that's a quick update for you guys this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're all doing well. Enjoy the weekend, and God bless you all.